Power Rangers Universe, Episode 3, Blast Off, written and narrated by Nathan Newport. We start this episode off in the middle of the night, where we see the farmhouse that Corey and Paige live in. We then go inside the farmhouse to Corey's bedroom, where we see him sleeping. But then as we get close up to him, we all of a sudden see a vision that Corey was dreaming about. The vision was that he was standing in the darkness with no one around, until out of nowhere came a bright light, and then appeared the Morphing Master, who had come to seek Corey's aid in the dream. Morphing Master, I feel like we're not looking hard enough for the zords. What if we don't find them? He asks him in concern. Calm yourself, Corey, said the Morphing Master, trying to get Corey to calm down. Do not give up on yourself. As I've told you before I passed, the star gems will help you find the zords. You just need to have confidence and patience if you hope to find the zords. What do you mean? He asks the Morphing Master. You'll find out soon, he says to him as he disappears into thin air, and then Corey wakes up from his dream. I just wish I knew where the zords are, he says while rubbing his eyes. He then lays his head back to sleep. Meanwhile, on the Polutos ship, we see Commander Exo in the command deck trying to track down a signal from the planet Narrated with the help of his galactic creeps at the control consoles. In other words, he's trying to track down the zords. Those Rangers may have the upper hand on me, now that they have the star gems. But if I find their zords first before them, then we'll see who has more power, he says to himself, believing he can be capable of succeeding a plan like this. And while he was pushing buttons with his mechanical arms coming from his pod, he received an incoming transmission from the engine room and on the ship. Excuse me, Commander. It was Dr. Cranium who wanted to talk to him. What is it, Cranium? I just thought I would call you to tell you that how our operation is going. He then shows Exo the further progress of what they are working on in the engine room. As you can see, me and the Galactic Creeps are making very good progress on the new ray guns you asked me to build. As he talks, the Galactic Creeps are hard at work on the new ray guns they are installing on the mechanical arms that would extend on the outside of the ship when activated. And soon, when we're finished with this, you'll be able to maximize your soldiers to crush cities of the planets you shall conquer. He says while giggling at the thought of planets being destroyed. Perfect. And while you're working, I'll send in a monster and a few Galactic Creeps to keep the Rangers busy. And when we find the zords, our new monster will be the first test subject for my regenerays. And then the Ranger Zords will be destroyed. He says while laughing evilly. Back on Narrated the following morning, we take a view of Otto's Space Auto Shop in the Narrated City Plaza, where we see Silas working on a new type of device in the workshop area of the store, when he should have been working on the new engine Otto told him to work on an hour ago. We see Otto walking in on Silas working on the device. Silas! He says, yelling at Silas, getting his attention. Oh, hey Otto, what's going on? He says while hiding the device he's working on. What's going on? He asks the same question he asked Silas. What's going on is that you're fiddling with your gadgets instead of working on the engine I told you to work on an hour ago. Sorry, Otto. I was just trying to fix my phone, he says to Otto as he raises his eyebrow at him, while Silas smiles at him. He then responds by saying, Yeah, well, when you're done with that, get back to work. You got it, boss. said Silas with what little confidence he has, before getting back to work. As Otto was about to leave, he just remembered something. "Oh, by the way, there's some people here to see you." Silas, knowing what he was talking about, he gets up from his stool and looks out from the workshop window to find the other 4 rangers waiting for him. He then signals to them to come inside to show him what he called him here for. "So, Silas, what'd you call us here for?" Paige asks Silas. "I've got something to show you guys. Come on," he says to them as he takes the other rangers into the workshop area. "So you remember how we need to find the zords, right?" "Of course, but that's going to be a little tricky since the star gems haven't sensed anything yet," said Liza, who was stating the obvious facts. "Well, I have a solution." He then shows the others the device he was working on earlier. "A cell phone?" said Corey in confusion. "It's not a cell phone. It's a U-phone," Silas says to them. "So it's like a cell phone?" Ross asks confusingly. "Not exactly. The U-phone is designed to be capable of connecting with the star gems," he says as he opens up the back of the U-phone, revealing an empty space where a star gem should be placed. "So if I hook my gem to my U-phone, it should be able to have enough power to give us the coordinates to the zords," Silas explains while putting his star gem in an empty spot on the back of his U-phone. When he places it and closes the back, the U-phone begins to power up. "Oh, I've also had an upgrade," he says while opening the U-phone up to the rangers. "Not only will it track the zords, but it can also give us access to our weapons and to morph." "Perfect," Liza exclaims with joy. "Does it work though?" Ross asks Silas. "I haven't tested it yet." "Well, what are you waiting for?" said Paige, who asked Silas. "Try to morph." Silas then hides his U-phone away to raise his finger up to his mouth, signaling her not to talk anymore. "Are you crazy? Not here," he says while closing the shop window where anyone can see. "Why not?" Paige asks. "Well, Silas has a point," said Corey to the other 3, which surprises them. "If we let anybody know that we're rangers, the Polutos are probably going to use that to their advantage." "That is true," said Liza, as the rest of them all agree. "So from now on, nobody reveals their secret?" he asks the others. "Got it," the others say. He gives them a thumbs up after their response. He then asks Silas, "So Silas, you made just one?" "Actually, I made one for each of us, but they still need to connect with the other star gems if we need them to work. So I'm going to have to borrow your star gems," he says to Corey and the others. "Okay, here." Corey and the other rangers give Silas their star gems. "Thanks. I'll make sure to get this done fast," he says, assuring to the others. "Take all the time you need. Let's just hope the Polutos don't have anything up their sleeves," said Corey, hoping that nothing bad will happen. Little do they know what they are up against. Back on the Poluto ship, we see Spythe walk into the command deck with a monster that was wearing an Air Force-style helmet on him, along with a jetpack strapped behind him. He's about to talk to Commander Exo, who is still busy looking for the zords.
"Sir, I believe you wanted to see me?"
he asks Commander Exo. "I didn't. What do you want?" he says in annoyance while giving him a chance to speak.
"This is Airstrike. He's come for your allegiance."
"Is that so?" he asks, questioning him.
"Yes, sir! I'm here to destroy the Power Rangers and get the Star Gems for you, sir!"
he says while he speaks like a good old boy soldier. "What makes you think you can do the job?" he asks Airstrike.
"I'm equipped with the best lethal weapons. Those Rangers won't have a chance, sir,"
he says confidently as Commander Exo responds to him. "Very well then. You're hired. Take some galactic creeps for backup. You're going to need it," he says to him, knowing that he might need the extra help.
Yes, sir! I'm on the way, sir!
Airstrike then leaves the command deck, preparing to head to Aritan to take down the Rangers.
You think you can do it?
Spythe asks Commander Exo.
Unlikely. But once we get my regenerators to work, those Rangers won't know what hit them,
he says as he smiles while continuing to search for the Zords. Back on Aritan, the Rangers are still waiting in Space Auto for Silas to connect the power of the Star Gems to their U-phones. Man, who knew waiting to save the universe could get really boring, said Liza, buttered that she doesn't want to keep waiting for the U-phones to be ready. Ross then gets up to see if Silas is finished yet. Hey Silas, have you finished up yet? He asks Silas. No, not yet. It's still gonna take a while for it to connect, he says, responding to Ross's question. Got it. As Ross was about to head back to the other Rangers, he immediately thought about something and headed back to Silas. By the way, you never did tell us how to use the U-phone, he says as Silas stops working to explain how it's used. Well, in order to access the morphing power and weapons, you need to type in a number code for it to work, he says to Ross. Oh, okay. So if I, for example, want to morph, I would press... Silas opens up his U-phone to show Ross the number code. 66774, then the center button. Then, if you want your weapon, you would press 932766. He says, finishing his explanation, leaving Ross with a clueless look on his face. That's going to be a lot to remember, but great. He then heads back with the group, and Silas gets back to work on U-phones. If I had to wait another hour for Silas to finish up, I'm going to lose my mind, Paige says annoyingly while waiting. Corey, when hearing her, thinks back to the words that the Morphing Master said to him. One of them was being patient. Just be patient, Paige, he says to her. He'll finish up sooner or later. And since when did you act mature for once? Said Paige, questioning him. Last time I checked, a couple of days ago, you were impatient going to other places without me by your side. Let's just say when it comes to being a ranger, a lot can change from you, he says to her in response to her question. Right, she says sarcastically while she has a confused but respectful look on her face after hearing what he had said. And all of a sudden, far away from Space Auto, appeared Airstrike and the Galactic Creeps ready to find the Rangers.
Galactic Creeps, attention!
All the Galactic Creeps stand up straight like they're soldiers, following Airstrike's orders.
Now listen up, you squids. Commander Exo expects me to take down these so-called Power Rangers. And if we do take them down, Exo will reward me greatly. Maybe I'll share my reward with you if you do well,
he says to the Galactic Creeps as they shake their heads in agreement with Airstrike.
Let's not waste any more time, shall we? Galactic Creeps, march!
People from outside the auto shop run in terror from the Polutos. And then, inside the auto shop, Silas's U-phone starts going off like an alarm, and that gets the Ranger's attention. What the? He says while checking his phone. Silas, what's going on? Paige asks Silas. I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? You made that thing, Liza said. Yeah, but I never programmed it to do this. Yeah, but I never programmed it to do this, he says while checking what could be going wrong. Well, it must be going off for some reason, Corey says to the others, still wondering what is happening. Then Ross immediately hears noises coming from outside. He checks over to the window to go and see what it is that's causing people to scream. He sees that it was Airstrike and the Galactic Creeps looking for the Rangers.
Ha ha ha! Come out, wherever you are, Power Rangers, ha ha ha.
He says, shouting at, trying to get the Rangers' attention. Ross then hurries over to the others to tell them, "Guys, it's the Polutos. They're here." They all look at Ross and then look at each other, realizing what's happening. "That's why my U-phone was going off. The Star Gems must have sensed the Polutos coming," Silas says after having the realization. "And I bet they're here to get the Star Gems," Paige says to the others as they agree with her. "Silas, we need the U-phones now," Corey says, asking Silas for their U-phones. "But I'm not finished with them. I need more time," he says to him in a worried tone. "Well, what do we do if we don't have the Star Gems?" asks Liza. Corey then thinks of a quick plan. "I've got an idea," he says, getting the Rangers' attention. "The four of us will go out there and hold them off as much as we can. Silas, see if you can finish up the U-phones as fast as possible." "Got it." Silas immediately heads over to the workstation to finish up the U-phones, while the other Rangers head out to hold off against Airstrike and Galactic Creeps.
Aha! Perfect for target practice.
Airstrike aims with his wrist gauntlet launcher at one of the empty buildings and blasts it.
Ha 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 ha!
He laughs evilly until...
Stop! Huh?
He looks over to see who said stop, which turned out to be Corey along with the other three Rangers.
Well, if it isn't the Rangers, I guess this mission was easier than I thought. Now hand over the Star Gems.
He asks them, shouting at them, in which Paige responds by saying, "Sorry to say, but they're not for sale," said Paige while Ross backs her up.
"So go do yourselves a favor and go back to wherever you came from."
Airstrike then responds by saying,
"No can do, Rangers. I'm here for a mission that gives me two options. Either you give me the Star Gems, or Commander Exo lets me destroy you, personally."
The Rangers look at each other with a bit of concern in their eyes.
"So why don't you do yourselves a favor and hand them over?"
he asks oh so rudely, to which Liza responds with, "You want them? Come and get them." The Rangers get into a fighting stance, ready to battle.
"Fine! We'll do it the hard way! Galactic Creeps, attention!"
The Galactic Creeps stand straight, and the Rangers look at each other with curiosity.
"Galactic Creeps, attack!"
Both the Rangers and the Galactic Creeps charge at each other and start attacking. Corey is seen leg sweeping the Galactic Creeps off of their feet, and as a result, knocks them down. He also makes time to throw some punches their way, even giving one of them a sidekick. Moving on to Paige, who is in the middle of grabbing punch attacks from a Galactic Creep, throwing them to the side and punching them in the gut. She kicks a Galactic Creep behind her while standing on one foot. Two Galactic Creeps come from both sides of her and grab her arms. They then move her arms, causing her to spin while in the air. She lands on her back after spinning, making her head feel loopy. But she regains her focus and sees the Galactic Creeps who are about to step on her. She rolls out of the way backwards before they step on her. She gets up and gets into a fighting stance. She charges at them while clotheslining both of the Galactic Creeps she was fighting as they both get knocked down. We then see Ross doing a spin kick to Galactic Creep's face. A Galactic Creep comes in to do a leg sweep, but Ross sees them and does a backflip, landing perfectly, avoiding the leg sweep. He kicked the Galactic Creep while he was on the ground. He sees a Galactic Creep coming to him, but he retaliates by jump kicking at him in the stomach, while also kicking their tentacle-covered chin and doing a backflip in the process, landing perfectly, standing in his fighting pose. Finally, we see Liza as she's doing cartwheels and flips when she enters amongst the group of Galactic Creeps. She stands in her fighting stance as the Galactic Creeps rush towards her. She punches one of them in the chest. She does a spin kick to another Galactic Creep, missing it, but she comes back with another kick with her other leg, causing them to fall on their back. Two Galactic Creeps charge from one side each, but she jumps up while doing a split kick to both of them, knocking them down. She lands perfectly, ready to fight more. Meanwhile, at Otto's Space Auto, Silas is seen putting his finishing touches on the last U-phone for him and the other Rangers. "There, finally finished," he says to himself, feeling accomplished. "Now I gotta get these to the others." And as he was about to leave to go to the others, he then thought of something. I probably shouldn't go out there unarmed. He then looks over to his work desk where he sees the device that he was working on the side other than the U-phones. It was a blaster-like weapon that had the Ranger symbol on it, and it had blue streaks on it that represent his color. He hasn't tested it yet, but he decides to bring it with him. Back to the action with the Rangers. They each take out a couple galactic creeps one by one, until more kept coming. Liza, who is worried, says to the other Rangers, "I don't think I can keep this up, guys. They keep coming at us." "We have to hold them off as much as we can," said Corey, trying to motivate his team. "But how? There's too many of them." "We need our powers," said Paige and Ross. Galactic creeps start circling the Rangers, trying to rally them up. But as the others are worried, Corey remembers what the Morphing Master told him in his dream. "You just need to have confidence and patience." It was at that moment that Corey said, "No! Keep it together! Keep fighting!" They looked at each other as the worries melted away and their confidence was increasing. They all keep attacking at the galactic creeps, knocking them down one by one, forcing all of them to perish away, leaving the Rangers to celebrate that they got rid of all of them. "We got them all," said Ross. "Nicely done, guys," Paige says, complimenting everyone. Then Liza talks to Corey. "But Corey, you could hardly stand up and yet you kept fighting. I'm impressed," said Liza. "I guess if you're really confident enough, you can accomplish anything," he says to the others as they smile for his confidence. "And with that, no more galactic creeps," said Paige, feeling good. But above them came airstrike.
"But you still have me!"
he says while flying through the sky with his jetpack shooting at the Rangers.
"Watch out!"
They all jump from the small explosion behind them. They all land hard on the ground where we see airstrike landing from his flight.
"Ha ha 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 ha! Time to surrender, Rangers!"
he says as he walks towards them and is about to blast the Rangers. They look at him with a little bit of fear in their eyes. But suddenly, a blast appeared from out of nowhere, hitting airstrike, forcing him to jump back and land on the ground on his back.
"Whoa!"
It was Silas with the prototype weapon he brought with him. "Silas, are we glad to see you?" said Liza, feeling grateful for him. Then Ross asked Silas, "What is that?" "It's a prototype I've been working on. I call it the Star Blaster." He shows the blaster to them, impressed that Silas made such a great weapon. "I guess this definitely came at the right time, huh?" Silas asked the others. "Yeah, no kidding," Paige says while nervously giggling. "Oh, by the way, I believe these are yours?" he says as he hands them their U-phones, each one of them matching their Ranger colors. Then Airstrike is seen getting back up on his feet.
"That's it! I've had about enough of you, Rangers! Time to finish you off!"
he says angrily at them. "Would have said it better myself," said Corey as the five of them line up.
"Ready?"
Corey asks the others, to which they responded,
"Ready."
Then Corey says, "Then what were you waiting for?"
"It's morphin' time! U-phone, activate!"
They slide open the U-phone to dial the number to morph.
66774, morph. Universe, morph!
They raise the U-phone high into the air, causing stars to hover all over the Rangers' bodies, along with the shapes of the gems to appear under their feet, and transforming the suit all the way from the bottom up. And the shapes appear in front of their faces, forming the helmets, and the shapes then turn to the helmet visors. All of them stand in fighting stance as Ross says, Now this is what I'm talking about, Corey then says. Alright guys, we got our powers, now let's take this creep down. Airstrike then says, You got no chance, Rangers. I've got superior weapons that you're no match for, he says to them, trying to prove he's better. Guess you're just gonna have to prove it then, Paige says, insulting him just a little. He grunts in frustration. Ugh! Let's get him, guys! They start charging at Airstrike as Airstrike tries to blast at the Rangers, but misses as they run through the explosions that are caused by the blast. They try to attack Airstrike by circling him and attacking him one at a time.
Ah! Hold still, Rangers!
He says to them, annoyed. What's the matter? Asks Ross, followed by Paige. Can't handle all of us at once? They say while hitting him. He gets hit in the stomach standing back a bit, and Ross and Paige come flying and kicking at Airstrike. He jumps back and rolls on the ground. Nice job, said Liza, complimenting both Paige and Ross. She then asked Silas a question. Hey Silas, how about you and I put our weapons to good use? Great idea, said Silas. My Star Blaster with your universe bow. Let's do it, she says as she pulls out her U-phone and then dials the number to summon her weapon. 932766, weapon. Her weapon then appears in her hands. They both shout out their weapons' names. Universe bow! Star Blaster! Airstrike looks over at the blue and pink ranger, clueless. Huh? Fire! Both of their weapons fire at Airstrike, causing him to once again fall. Corey then stands in front of him with his universe saber, saying the facts. Guess you're not the only one who has powerful weapons. Impossible! He says in disbelief, to which Corey responded, but believable, he says as the other rangers stand by him. He then stands in a fighting position with his universe saber, ready to attack with all the power he has. Universe saber, full power! He shouts out as his power charges through his saber. What the? Said Airstrike, questioning what's happening. Universe saber, final strike! He slashes at Airstrike, destroying him with his most powerful move. Ah! A huge explosion occurs with the Rangers turning around in front of the explosion. Back on the Polutos ship, Commander Exo watches the action on Narrated on the command deck's viewing screen. Spythe responds arguably.
Grr! Curse those blasted Rangers!
As Spythe is angered, Commander Exo says, I knew this would happen, but it's a good thing I always come up with a backup plan, he says while looking at the viewing screen, which now shows a radar image which shows the coordinates of the Zords. He then pushes a button which contacts the engine room to talk to Dr. Cranium. Come in, Doctor! The viewing screen then switches to Dr. Cranium, who answered his call from the engine room. You called, Commander? He asked Commander Exo. Do you have the regenerates up and running? He asked Dr. Cranium. Of course, they are ready to fire at your command. Good, he says, responding in a sinister tone. It's about time we had our first test subject try them out. Back on Narrated, the Rangers are seen high-fiving each other as they feel accomplished taking down Airstrike and the Galactic Creeps. Way to go, guys, says Corey in response to the victory. Then Liza asks Silas, Hey Silas, I know that's a prototype and all, but can you make one for each of us? I'll make sure to put that on my to-do list, he says, answering Liza. Then Paige notices something in the sky and asks them, Hey guys, what's that up there? They all look up at the sky and see a red glow getting bigger and bigger, like it was coming closer. Look out! Ross shouts to them as they all get away from the laser, and then what was left of Airstrike starts to bring him back to life and begins to make him bigger until he's bigger than a building.
My mission isn't over yet, Rangers!
They all look up amazed and terrified that he's back after Corey just destroyed him.
Whoa, he's alive? And he's huge!
Corey and Liza say in awe. Just as Airstrike is looking around the area, he hears something from his helmet.
Airstrike, do you copy?
He hears Commander Exo's voice trying to communicate.
Commander?
He says, questioning if he hears what he hears. He then sees a video message from him on the visor of his helmet.
I'm sending you the coordinates to the Rangers' Zords. Get there first and destroy them!
He says, shouting to him.
Yes, sir!
The video message ends.
Let's hope my navigation skills aren't too rusty. See ya, Rangers!
He says as he takes off with his jetpack flying, trying to find the Zords and try to destroy them.
Oh no! He knows where the Zords are!
Paige says in fear.
If he gets there first, he's gonna destroy them!
What do we do? Asks Silas.
We get to the Zords before he does,
Corey suggests to the others.
But how are we gonna get to them if we don't even know where they are?
Liza asks. Then all of a sudden, Silas's U-phone starts beeping.
Huh?
He opens up his U-phone where he finds 4 numbers lighting up in order. 9673? I don't remember this code, he says confused, to which Liza comes to a realization.
It must be the Star Gems,
she says to the Rangers. Then Corey adds by saying,
they're helping us get the Zords. Let's try it,
he says, suggesting to them as they all pull out their U-phones and dial the number code.
9673 Zord.
They all close their U-phones, wondering what's going to happen. Ross asks,
so what now?
I don't know, said Paige. We wait, Corey says to them as they look at him and say with curiosity,
what?
Trust me, let's wait. He says to them. They decide to do what he suggests and wait. All the while, Airstrike is flying in the sky and is searching with his scanners for the exact coordinates that Commander Exo sent him.
Where are you hiding?
He asks himself. Then suddenly, the scanners he uses picks up on the coordinates as he sees something unusual in the mountain region of Aritan.
Gotcha!
He says to himself as he flies down and lands perfectly down on the ground.
Ha ha ha! Looks like my mission is fulfilled,
he says as he has found the Zords where they are hiding, which was behind a hangar door with the Ranger's symbol on it.
All I need to do is destroy these Zords for good,
said Airstrike, when suddenly the hangar door starts to open unexpectedly.
What?
He says, surprised, and we see the Zords start flying out and attacking him, causing him to fall down. The Zords immediately start flying to find the Rangers. We see the Rangers standing there waiting as they all look up to see something was coming. Corey responds by saying,
check it out! It's the Zords!
The Zords are seen flying towards them as Paige says,
perfect timing. I can't wait to do some damage with those,
Silas says with excitement.
Easy there, Tiger,
said Liza, calming him down.
Let's go!
Ross says as they all jump high and teleport to their Zords. Corey teleports to U-Zord 1, which is a red space shuttle. Paige teleports to U-Zord 2, which is a yellow space satellite. Ross teleports to U-Zord 3, which is a green rounded spacecraft. Silas teleports to U-Zord 4, which is a blue missile-style rocket ship. And finally, Liza teleports to U-Zord 5, which is a pink triangle heart-shaped spacecraft.
U-Zord 1, ready! U-Zord 2, ready! U-Zord 3, ready! U-Zord 4, ready! U-Zord 5, ready! They all turn their Zords around to where Airstrike is, and are ready to take him down with their new vehicles.
Look up ahead! There's Airstrike! Says Corey. Airstrike gets back into motion and finds the Rangers in their zords.
Ah, great! They have their zords now!
He says to himself, annoyed about the Rangers, but shakes it off quickly so he can focus on beating them.
Well, no matter. I'll destroy them anyway!
He fires his wrist grenade launcher at the zords, causing explosions to happen. But they dodge them quickly.
Split up, guys!
Corey says to the other Rangers, in which they respond,
Right.
They each split up and attacked Airstrike. First was Paige in her Zord.
Use Zord 2! Sonar strike!
Her Zord releases a sound wave that hurts Airstrike's ears.
Gah! My ears!
He says as he is hurting. Russ then comes in with his Zord along with Silas.
Use Zord 3! Spin attack! Use Zord 4! Missile pierce!
They both shout their attacks as they both attack. Ross hits him by spinning his Zord at him like a frisbee, while Silas strikes him with his Zord like his universe spear.
Ow!
Then as Silas' Zord turns around and flies right in front of him, Airstrike grabs hold of it.
Ha! Gotcha!
Said Airstrike after grabbing U-Zord 4.
Guys, I need help!
Silas says, crying for help, as Liza comes in with her Zord saying,
Hang on, Silas. Use Zord 5. Fire blasters.
Blasts start coming from Liza's Zord and hits Airstrike, causing him to let go of Silas' Zord. Silas flies his Zord away so that he couldn't get captured again. He joins with Liza, thanking her for saving him.
Phew. Thanks, Liza.
No problem. Airstrike looks around at the Zords that are flying all around him. It was there that he realizes he only sees 4 Zords instead of 5.
Wait! I thought there were 5 of you!
He said, questioning himself, when suddenly he heard something above him.
Up here! What?
He looks up to see Corey and U-Zord 1 flying towards him as Corey activates his special attack.
U-Zord 1! Spiral Blaze!
His Zord starts spiraling into flames towards Airstrike, hitting him and setting him ablaze almost.
Gah! It burns!
He exclaimed.
Nice one, Corey,
said Paige.
Guess not everybody can take the heat,
said Corey, giving a snide remark.
I'm not done with you yet, Rangers,
he says to them, proving he can still put up a fight. No, but we're done with you, says Corey as all 5 Zords group together, leaving all the Rangers to say,
U-Zords! Full power!
The Zords start illuminating and are charged up, ready to fire at Airstrike.
Fire!
The Zords fire full blast at Airstrike, destroying him.
Ah! I failed my mission!
An explosion happens in front of the Zords. As the Rangers celebrate, Corey says,
Universe Rangers, this battle's over.
Back on the Polutos ship, the destruction of the monster Airstrike really made Commander EXO furious, forcing him to break a control console with one of his robotic tentacle arms.
Yeah! I can't believe they have their Zords. Now they're more powerful than ever. And who knows what will happen if they find us.
Well, look on the bright side. Your regenerates work.
Commander EXO looked furiously at Spite after what he has said to him.
You idiot! If it wasn't for your monster, we would have won.
Spite looks at him with confusion.
What? But, sir!
And you know what?
Since there's such a big mess in the engine room, I want you to go down there and clean it up.
He says to him as if he wants him to leave the command deck.
But, sir!
Now!
He says while shouting at him.
Yes, sir!
Spite leaves the command deck quickly before EXO gets really angry.
You may have won today, Rangers, but tomorrow is another day.
He says as he puts his 2 hands together, concocting a plan as he sinisterly smiles. Back on Aritan, we see the Rangers walking down the trail at the local park called Flora Park. After their victory against the Polutos, Ross compliments the Zords. I gotta hand it to those Zords. They really do pack a punch. Paige then says, if those Polutos are smart, they should be heading home by now. The group giggles at Paige's comment. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I think this calls for a meal over at the Comic Cafe, Liza suggests to the others as they give a happy response. All right, said Corey. Then Liza surprises everyone by saying, and Silas is paying. Yeah, wait, what? The other Rangers laugh when they see Silas's reaction. You're joking, right? Said Silas. Come on, Liza says as she grabs Silas's arm, and they both go on ahead while Ross follows them. Hey, as long as it's not above my budget, I'll pay. Corey and Paige smile as they stay behind for a little while. Paige says to Corey, you know, I'm really glad that you really pulled it through today. I mean, the way you kept fighting, even if we were outnumbered. You always kept fighting. I guess he was right about being confident and patient. Corey says to himself about the Morphing Master's advice. Paige asks him on what he was talking about. Who was right? He shakes his head to look at her to say, nobody. Come on, we better catch up with the rest of the group. He says to her as they keep walking to catch up with the others. What they don't notice is the Morphing Master's spirit behind them. Well done, Corey. You make a great Red Ranger, he says as his spirit disappears into thin air. End of episode 3.